magic damage, fulfills anything you really want. And then Galio kind of rounds out that kind of super tank who you can start flexing all over the place. So he's a great early pick because he slots into so many different team comps.
Yeah, and just a quick note, this is still patch 7.12, so the Galio nerfs haven't quite gone in yet. So we're going to see that one taken off the board, along with Caitlyn and Cassiopeia being the last couple bans here.
Yeah, you see 2 bot lane bans already kind of targeting down on Ricard a little bit. Seems like they want to make sure he's limited in what he wants to do. And then no surprise, of course, you grab the Elise, basically the strongest jungler left up. Zach is obviously the S tier, and then alone probably in the A tier right behind him is Elise. Just super strong early pressure. The dives and ganks that you can pull off with this champion are absolutely crazy. We'll have to see what Gold Coin United wants to answer with.
Right, and it does look like it will be a Renekton in the top lane for Solo, the Solo King. Solo, one of those players that's been in Challenger for quite some time, had some experience as well in the LCS level.
Yeah, Renekton's a champion that combos super well with Elise. You see, I mean, dating back all the way to Season 4, those Renekton Elise dives that could just blow you up at level 3, those are still a very strong possibility. So you usually don't see Renekton prioritize that highly, but I think they don't want to put Solo in a position where he needs to worry about a dive like that, so they just take that one away. And then they follow it up with the Rek'Sai, kind of the other A-tier champion right now. A little surprising after the rework, everyone said, oh, Rek'Sai is going to be garbage, but as soon as they fix some of the small things with the ultimate being able to get walked out of, it's been a pretty strong champion so far.
It's a little bit more accurate on the Void Rush, and Santorin on Rek'Sai. I really like that connection there back to his TSM days, as we do have 2 more picks coming in. It's going to be the Thresh coming in for Sheep. He's made his name on that champion as well.
Yep, I mean, that's one of the champions that feels like everyone makes their name on. Kind of like every jungler has a Lee Sin. You know, every support has a Thresh that's gotten high ranked.
Right.
It's one of the few supports that can really carry in solo queue. So, you know, Thresh is one that you see for Sheep. You see it for Mad Life. Back when Bunny broke out, he had one. Biofrost had, like, everyone has a Thresh. So Sheep's gonna get his hands on it this time around. Very strong champion in the meta, and a relatively early Orianna pick for Selfie here. Doesn't look like they want to let the mid lane pools get pinched too hard before they get into the second ban phase.
Yeah, Orianna being a safe mid lane pick here, and it does look like it's going to be Tahm Kench locked in so far. That's probably going to go to Mad Life. We've seen it a lot there in the bot lane to take care of an AD carry, and Rikara and Mad Life, one of those top AD carry bot lane duos in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, right now you see with the Elise Thresh, that's kind of the makings of a pick comp. You have the Orianna who can kind of combo with that. Not quite as scary as when you start throwing the Syndra in there as well, but it does feel like GCU wanted to get out in front of the potential extra pickoff coming. They get the Tahm Kench before it maybe gets banned out, and now you're going to see this kind of lopsided phase where there's a top laner for GCU and there's no one on Tempo Storm, and then similarly there's no mid laner, so they're going to pinch those opposite pools.
So we're now getting into the second ban phase here. Gnar and LeBlanc getting taken away. Gnar's surprising ban here. What do you think about these 2 bans here?
So Gnar was a champion that just started coming back into the meta a little bit this last week and a half in professional play, and then it just got buffed again on 7/13. So it's not quite at the new Gnar level where some people think it was a little unnecessary that he was in a fine spot. But as people were starting to play them a little bit more, Quas always had a good Gnar, so not too surprised to see that one, as well as the Kennen, one of the few range champions that can really annoy that Renekton pick. So they're trying to set up Solo to be able to get some bully matchups into Quas, who usually has something crazy up his sleeve to make sure that he has pressure in the lane.
Yep, and then the last ban is going to be Syndra taken away from Fly, who spent some time over at Jin Air, spent some time on Longzhu Gaming, all from the LCK, one of the big import slots here for Gold Coin United, as Jin's going to get locked in.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Fly versus Phoenix. They're pretty opposite players in terms of where they lay on the spectrum, where Phoenix was extremely lane dominant, focused more on his own play, trying to get his own leads, and then basically working within that small area around mid. Not a great roamer. Fly basically the opposite, much more focus on getting out of laning phase, trying to influence his team. So those LeBlanc and Syndra bans are more kind of reminiscent to a Phoenix style of play, and we'll see if Fly does pick up something that can move around the map a little bit more. Talia already banned away, so that would be one of the signature champions you'd think you'd look for.
Tempo Storm going to lock in Jace for Quas, and now it's a Jace Renekton lane in the top side of the map, and that's got to be a tough thing for Solo.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about trying to ban out a couple of those bully matchups on the top side. That is one of the ones that can, as we see also an Alawi locked in.
Whoa, I didn't see that, and we missed it real quick, so maybe where do you think that might go?
I mean, I think the Alawi is going to go top side, and the Jace looks like it's an 80 carry Jace. You would have to assume very weird bot lane going on right now, potentially. You have to worry about the all-in threat. Jace does have that available, so if you do land a hook against this bot lane of GCU, maybe you can go try and kill it, but with the Tahm Kench already there, it's a little surprising to see them kind of double down on that all-in lane as GCU rounds their comp out with Corki.
Yep, Corki going to get locked in for Fly, and we've seen changes in the patch to put Corki in the forefront. We saw High pull that one out for FlyQuest earlier last week, and so Fly is going to have his chance on the champion.
Yeah, it's one that's always had a decent matchup into Orianna. You can kind of bully it early, and then you start pushing it in, and you're mostly focused on wave clear duty as the Corki. Eventually, maybe you move into a side lane. Once you get the package, you can make those roams that we say Fly is so famous for, so we'll see if you can kind of get those going a little bit later on post 6.
Yeah, we still got to touch on this here. Jace Thresh in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Revan going to pull that one out.
I mean, well, I'm going to be learning here alongside you because I can theorize about the hook into going hammer form, trying to drop the damage. You have a speed up to get Thresh in range to kind of get those earlier hooks, but it's still tough just because, I mean, you're against the Tahm Kench, and that's basically the ultimate, nope, that's not going to happen champion.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of poke before they start going for the all-in style that is expected out of a Jace and Thresh, or at least that we can at least theorize out of a Jace and Thresh. But with that, we've got our interesting picks, and we're going to get ourselves into Game 1 of the Challenger Series Week 4. It's Tempo Storm against Goldcorn United.
So one of the things you can do against the Tahm Kench lane is just kill the Tahm Kench. I mean, that's always the possibility of just saying, all right, we'll ignore the Jhin, and we're going to kill Tahm. If you bring the Elise down there, you will have the ability to do that. And obviously, Tahm Kench is very tanky, has that great health that can be annoying to try and punch through. But, I mean, if you do start killing the Tahm Kench, it does get pretty annoying to try and play him because you're kind of just, you're still trying to play front line, as Tahm Kench, but you just don't have as much health as you're used to having. You've been shut down pretty hard. So, all that said, I mean, there's still an Alawi in the top side to talk about. There's been a lot of weird stuff out of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, definitely. So looking back at this, in Week 1, Tempo Storm went ahead, took this one 2-0, and it was relatively comprehensive. It's a 2-0 against Goldcorn United. Now that we've gone through Champ Select, which lane do you think is one of the most pivotal for victory for both teams?
I would actually say that as much as we talked about the bot lane, I think the top lane is more important. Alawi is a champion that if you fall behind, it can be a little tough to play her. She has a lot of sustain through her tentacles hitting champions, giving her some health back. If she gets ahead, she can become this kind of bruiser who dives in. You try and kill her, and she does that lifesteal tanking, something Quas loves to do, plays the Swain, plays the Vladimir, these kinds of things. And so if the Renekton can beat it up early, it is a decent matchup for Alawi, actually. But if you can gank it early, set it behind, that's really important for GCU to do that and stop from getting pressure.
And building upon the top lane, these are the two North American talents here in Quas and Solo who have been around the LCS Challenger level. I know it's easy to talk about Fly and Selfie being the import slots. We could talk about Revan in the bot lane and Mad Life on the opposite side for Goldcorn United, but these two guys know Challenger. They know each other very well and represent what's best of North America.
Yeah, two of the best top laners in the Challenger scene. The other one, of course, being Licorice, you have to talk about when you're talking about domestic talent. But, you know, like everyone always says, the mid lane is really the focus of a lot of these import slots. And Selfie has been dominating a little bit in the Challenger Series, has a tough matchup this time around. But as he scales into the game, he does have that game-changing ultimate to potentially find an opening to take it over. But doesn't have great setup. Something you usually love as an Orianna player is having a tank you can kind of throw that ball on.
Right.
I mean, yes, Alawi will kind of jump in there, but she doesn't have any CC to set up that actual Orianna ultimate.
A little bit of counter jungling here by Santorin, taking away the blue buff, and Wiggly's not going to get there in time. He did not take the opposite blue buff, so Santorin finding a little bit of lead here.
Yeah, you see both them do an early Skull Crab, concerned about the gank threats. But Rek'Sai goes in for an invade after, whereas Wiggly wraps back around to his top side, so he's going to lose that blue buff for free. A little surprising to see the Elise not go for any early pressure down that bot side with a clear like that. That's generally what you're assuming is a level 2 cheese gank with that Thresh Jace. I would have liked to see, you know, flash play into hook when then you have your Elise coming in at the same time, but not going to do that, and Santorin grabs himself a nice little lead.
Yeah, two things to get used to down here as we see Sheep going in, landing an early death sentence. Rikara taking a lot of poke early, but the Devour is going to keep him safe by Mad Life. Shock Blast going to come in, do a decent amount of damage, and Mad Life not so tanky. Here comes a turnaround. Deadly Flourish not going to land, and Sheep and Mad Life going back and forth. That's going to leave Revan to come in. Here comes Santorin, thinking about coming in, feeling it, does flash forward, get one knockup onto Revan. Revan trying to walk this one out. Sheepy with a nice play. Revan is very low. Prey Seeker not going to land. Bad Life with a lick. Revan trying to trade it for the kill, but it's First Blood heading on over to Goldcorn United. Maybe not done yet. Rikara gets the last hit, and a nice lick coming out of Mad Life. 2-0 to Goldcorn.
Really, really well played by GCU there. Able to get the fourth shot out of Rikara to get the chunk down on Sheep. followed up by the tongue lash out of Mad Life, getting that double kill. And this is one of the things when you pick a lane like Thresh Jace, you can assume pretty safely as a side of GCU that they're going to be playing pretty aggressive. So after that initial kind of trade of Scuttle Crabs, Santorin does a really good job making sure he ends up on the bot side of the map, ready for them to go aggressive and cover some of that early game playmaking that you can see come out of a Thresh.
So early lane aggression for the off-meta pick here for Jace and Thresh, not going to work out in an early lead by Gold Coin United. And we get to see smart pathing coming out of Santorin, who continually puts pressure across the map. We do have them fighting around the blue buff on the mini-map, as you see Quast and Solo. The two top laners going back and forth. Santorin, did he get it? No, Wiggly ends up getting it. So solid stuff there. Elise does end up getting her blue buff.
Able to kind of answer back from that blue buff steal, but the 2 kills in GCU's favor gives them about a 1,500 gold lead. And the big thing is you've now lost pressure down the bot side. So they open up onto Rikara right away. Mad Life looked like he was a little slow on the Devourer to protect him. It gives them enough time to kind of focus down on all-inning him again. And then this is a nice bait out of GCU where they kind of go, Mad Life walks forward like, oh, maybe you'll kill me. A very important flash to get out of that small shock blast there. And then just enough time for Santorin to get involved. And Mad Life plays this one on the outside of the fight, ready to throw in any extra assistance. They try and go for him there, but the hook off by Sheep, and really no way for them to get out with that long chase down coming in the lane. And like we said, nice timing there between the 4th shot and the tongue lash.
Solid play there by the veteran support of Mad Life. Teleport coming in on the top side for Quast to make sure that he continues to pressure. Solo hasn't gone back yet, so he's forced to back up and probably will have to use his teleport as well, so no teleport advantage for either laner. But either way, just kind of standard farming across the board. Solo able to bully out Quast a little bit with that Renekton. Renekton, a champion that has a lot of early pressure. But either way, not a lot of farm differences.
Nope, not really, other than that top side 10 CS advantage for the Renekton. But this is already relatively scary if you're Tempo Storm, just because you do not have a super standard draft. I can see some ways that it can work with the catch potential between the Orianna, Elise, Thresh, but you don't have a good front line. You don't have a ton of like CC other than that single target pickoff CC. So in a team fight, when someone jumps in with the Renekton, and the Rek'Sai can jump in, the Tahm Kench can go in there. They have a lot of ways to actually get onto somebody and try and blow them up with Jhin contributing from far away.
Unfortunately, a 3-man roam to the mid lane, not going to find anything, and that's going to allow Fly to head on back. And again, more pressure on the bottom side of the map. Revan is left alone to farm up, and he has to farm under tower. And plays like that, small plays like that, lead to big-time leads.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, Tempo Storm knows they're a little bit behind. They want to get on the map and make something happen. But anytime you do that and it fails, often you're giving something up. So you see now 15 CSC in the bot lane on the side of Rikara, keeping up that KDA.
Yeah, Rikara coming in with a 10.4 KDA, I believe, and I think on the opposite side it was Revan with 10.5, and obviously that one goes down unless he gets 10 kills.
Don't count him out yet.
5 assists, something like that. But Revan, just one of those players that came out of nowhere and doing big things for his team right now. As we do see Mad Life getting hooked under the tower, we'll go ahead and use the Grey Health to shield up most of that damage. And just going back on Revan, just been a revelation so far for Tempo Storm.
Yep, one of the players that you wouldn't have looked at coming in for this roster, taking up one of those import slots. Not someone that was well known compared to some of the other AD carry imports that have come in recent years.
Yeah, maybe if you know some of the memes. It's Sam Song, Sam Revan Song on the bot side of the map with Coach LS. That's
yeah.
how you know. That's where you would know him from. But either way, blue buff heading on over to Selfie, and he's got himself a nice lead in this mid lane.
Yep, done a good job of getting that advantage by himself. Didn't really require too many resources. But on the side of bot lane, I mean, that's the scary thing is this Jace kind of falling out of place. This Quast getting a little bit of an all-in here on the Solo.
Yeah, goes in and pops the ultimate leap of faith to do a little bit of damage onto Solo, force him back, and Solo's already teleported, so he's going to risk staying under the tower and might be a possible risk for getting dove later on.
Yeah, but instead, it's Selfie who's going to get caught a little bit out of position here in this room. Wiggly is in range to try and take the skirmish, but it's not going well.
Knock up by Santorin. Wiggly trying to get himself out of trouble, but a rocket's going to land, and that's going to be all she wrote. And it gets even worse for Tempo Storm because down goes Selfie, the mid laner, down as well.
GCU, really nice rotation up to this mid lane. There was a bit of pressure up in the top side with Quas blowing his ultimate to get Renekton low. You can kind of assume the Elise is making his way up there, but Santorin patiently waiting in that top river as Madlife roams in from the bot side, so it forces Selfie right into Santorin with Fly collapsing. They get a nice 3v2 that breaks out for them, and they're able to get those 2 kills relatively easily. Now 4-0 in favor of GCU with about 1,500 gold, 2,500 gold.
Yeah, and looking across the on the scoreboard there, it's all across the map as we go ahead and take another look at this engage.
Yeah, so there you see, basically forced up right into Santorin, who was patiently waiting for him. Gets the flash knock up onto Wiggly, actually. One of the changes that came through with these Rek'Sai mini rework was that you only really knock up one main target and the rest kind of get pushed back a little bit. So it can be slightly difficult to pick who you want there. I'm sure he wanted to knock up Selfie, but got Wiggly. The team adapted well, focused him down first before focusing back onto Selfie.
That's right, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I would hope.
And so he's able to go ahead and pick up that kill. 4-0 so far, 10 minutes into this match. And Tempo Storm a little bit further behind. Do they have some late game mechanism that can help them catch back up?
Honestly, not in my opinion. I mean, like, you do have, so we talk about Orianna not having good setup on the team, but she does provide good setup for the Alawi. So if you do end up in a situation where maybe GCU starts Baron, they get a little bit risky, you hit a big Orianna shockwave into Alawi ultimate, that can be a game-changing team fight. But with no one to really put the ball in place to kick all of that off, it might be a little difficult. You could see one of those infamous put the ball on Elise, repel in, suicide setup, but from behind, that feels really bad as the Elise, because you see not even done with their jungle item yet.
Yeah, Elise not only down in kills and effect on the map, but down on CS as well, 58-39. Santorin's been all around the map and having impact in every single lane. And Tempo Storm still trying to find some pressure on the bottom side of the map, but again, they're just kind of grasping at straws and haven't found anything to hold on to.
Nope, not at all. And soon GCU should be able to start transferring this into objectives. The first turret's still available, Dragon's still up, Rift Herald's still up, but with this big of a lead off the back of kills and farm, you think at some point they're going to brute force one of these down here. Dragon would be great to take, being a mountain dragon from ahead, able to use that to start snowballing the turrets down as well.
So both teams kind of positioning themselves. We do see Santorin working his way on the bottom side of the map. We'll run into Wiggly as we do pan down, and either way, it's just a little check just to see who's around, where everyone's around. You able to use the tremor sense to notice footsteps, but no play to be found.
It was a little risky if you wanted to brute force anything down there. Your bot lane had just reset, potentially get collapsed on. So Santorin doing what he was most famous for, getting vision. But it's a little unfair to still characterize him that way. He's been a lot more aggressive during his time on NRG. We saw a lot of that, probably the highlight player for them. And even since then, as Fly trying to open up Selfie here.
Yeah, he is. A nice shockwave is going to land, but Selfie doesn't have enough damage. Not enough mana either. Flash forward, and that's going to be Madlife and Solo doubling the mid laner. The cocoon will land, and that was a weird interaction. Solo tried to get over the wall, and now he's going to get landed by the death sentence, and down he goes. Revan, the AD carry, able to pick that one up. Quas able to land a skill shot as well, but that's going to be the end of it, a 1-for-1.
There's a nice idea out of GCU, just a little unclean on the escape. If Madlife was able to collapse over onto Solo, he could potentially devour him out of there, keep him safe. But it was a good collapse by Sheep, who was kind of roaming mid after that reset in the bot lane. It's one of those ones where GCU's bot lane pushes in resets, Tempo Storms does the same thing, and it can be a little risky looking for plays like that during that time, because one of the first things supports usually do after recalling is go and get some vision out.
Drake now heading on over to Tempo Storm. They are positioned for it. Wiggly does not have Smite, but he will be able to secure it. The Fangs do sink onto the Drake. Quas able to walk himself out of trouble, so Tempo Storm finding a little bit of a groove here.
Yeah, we were talking about how GCU probably wanted to set something up around that Dragon pretty soon. That mid lane skirmish going bad allows Tempo Storm to sneak it away, and while from behind, it is very hard to find a use for Mountain Dragon. At the very least, you're keeping it off GCU's hands here, so a little bit of a steal that you got to be happy with your Tempo Storm.
Oh, Wiggly almost was able to steal the red buff away, but Santorin, he's a lot bigger right now. You can't go ahead and take him on by yourself. Also, the bot lane has priority, and it does look like Tempo Storm's bot lane is going to give up pressure of this bottom side of the map.
Kind of a result of staying on the map for that dragon. Didn't have a chance to get their recall off. They have to give this one up. Fly had moved down, and like you said, Santorin in that bot jungle, making sure that they have vision and pressure down there to push this turret. A little surprising to see Santorin going with that Cinder Hulk build, something I'm not personally a fan of, but
what would you rather see?
I like the Warrior one more. We'll take another look at this mid lane skirmish. You see Fly basically brute forcing, just getting as much chunk down as he can. He knows Selfie won't actually turn it around for a kill on him. And so that frees Solo up to actually go in and blow him up because he already had done so much damage before the fight. But this is where you look and see that a little over-aggressive. Mad Life already using that flash to get some damage in on the turret dive. Not able to go help get Solo out of there. And a good collapse by Tempo Storm, gets him a dragon, loses them a turret. Overall, an even trade, but GCU continuing to build that advantage.
Yeah, an unfortunate interaction there for Solo. He was almost able to slice over the walls. We do see Abyssal Voyage now going down on the Quas. Quas does get exhausted, trying to turn around the damage, but he's going to get caught out. He's going to get chomped up and taken down. It's Solo killing Quas.
Really nice roam there by the side of GCU. They already took the bot turret, head up to that top side, and can kind of be a little bit of a bait because you, as Quas, probably know they're coming up there, but you're not ready for the angle that Tahm Kench can deliver that. So instead of thinking that you can run back over the lane as you see them coming in, you just all of a sudden have two people right next to you.
Yep, surprise, we're behind you. Good luck trying to get out of that one. And Quas didn't have any summoners. His ult was down.
And he's a Lowy. Not the best champion for running away. A little bit of an all-in.
No kiting at all, and it's going to be another tower heading on over to GCU, who are looking to accelerate their lead here 15 minutes and 40 seconds into the game. Revan is trying his best to knock this tower down along with Selfie, but right now, again, Tempo Storm look a little bit behind on the back foot here as Fly engaging onto Wiggly and forcing out a flash.
Fly playing really well this game. We talk about him needing to step up potentially. Hold on, Solo getting caught out.
Solo is getting caught out, trying to turn around the damage, but not enough. Sheep with a nice death sentence to set that one up.
Nice pick off as GCU rotates down in the bot lane, or mid lane, excuse me, after taking that top turret. Trying to finish off all these outer ones, but during this time, Tempo Storm staying in the bot lane might be looking for a turret trade here, just trying to get some gold in their pockets.
Yeah, a little bit of a game of chicken here. Tempo Storm staying around the bottom inner tower. The tower will go down. Wiggly trying his best to save it. Nope, not going to be enough. Calculated, says Gold Coin United. They take the mid-outer turret.
Giving up a little bit of that local gold to try and collapse down into the bot lane. Tempo Storm sees that one coming and gets out just fine. Overall, once again, not the worst trade for Tempo Storm, but they are playing from behind. 4,000 gold deficit now, and it's a situation where it would have been really nice if Solo did not get caught out there. You saw just how little gold the Jace has in comparison to the Jhin. Similar item path all around, but prior to going back there, he did not have those double longswords. He was basically down a full BF to Rakara.
Yeah, a lot of items being completed right now, and Rakara not only ahead in items, but in CS as well, as we do see Tempo Storm starting to work their way and take down the Rift Herald. They're going to claim that one. It's going to go on to Wiggly, so we'll get to see how well Tempo Storm is able to utilize the Rift Herald buff.
I mean, overall, Tempo Storm, I would say, has actually been playing a little bit better than GCU, all things considered. They had really, really good vision control just a moment ago before a couple of those wards timed out. Which is something that can be hard to do from behind. They steal the Mountain Dragon away. They get the Rift Herald here, so they've had a lot better objective control. You just have to look at potentially the draft being a little bit of a problem, as well as falling behind some early ganks out of Santorin that's really set them much further behind than they'd ever want to be. But at the very least, they're showing that they have the understanding of the game to stay in it.
Get to see how long they're able to stay in it. So if you're the side of Tempo Storm here, you don't want to get too late because your champions don't scale too hard. What kind of fight are you actually looking for?
Eventually, they're going to have to go to that Baron, and that's where you're going to hope you can catch them out. Obviously, Renekton does not become a split-pushing monster. He transitions from, I built my team in early lead to I'm going to be a big, dumb frontliner, but he doesn't have great team fighting. So you can potentially find an opportunity that as you crest into that 20 through 30-minute mark, when he starts making that transition into just being a frontline bruiser, you might find something around the Baron pit because, like we said, GCU still mostly team fighting team, not great 1-3-1, though Cork can kind of go into a side lane, and for the most part, Tempo Storm will be able to find the fight, but when you're behind with no one to walk in as a frontliner, it's tough to play.
Well, if there is a way back in, for Tempo Storm. Solo might be that door. He's already died twice in a lot of games this season so far. He's the one that gets caught out, either split pushing too much or hugging onto a tower that he probably shouldn't hold on to. I remember vividly some Rumble games where, you know, he's 1-5 and trying to equalize anyone and doesn't do too much damage.
Yeah, I mean, even this game, as his bot lane is making a play up on the top side with him, he goes back down to the bot lane as Tempo Storm finishes off that turret and then just gets caught out for no reason. The Thresh catching him by surprise.
Ooh, sneaky sheep trying to find a play onto Fly, but Fly sniffed that one out and was able to get himself into safety. Now Quas and Solo going back at it again. We do have an Abyssal Voyage coming in. Wiggly's here to help out and try to even up the numbers, but it is a 3v2. Ultimate going down. Lots of damage coming out of Quas. The Leap of Faith not going to be enough, and both teams disengage.
There's some of that lifesteal tanking that we're talking about. The Alawi does so well and that Quas loves to play. Gets jumped on by a 3-man, but that sets up for a nice 3-man ultimate for himself, and they're not able to actually burst him out there. The Death Dance also delaying some of that damage coming through, and not enough to actually finish him off. Does buy some room for Santorin down this bot side to just work away in this Cloud Drake by himself.
Right, especially after seeing Wiggly in the top lane, no contest at the Dragon.
Yep, so you're pretty safe to grab this one, and that's kind of the risks of these 1-3-1s that GCU is playing. Is worrying about the collapse. We saw Fly trying to get picked off. That attempt in the top side almost got turned, but good ideas out of them with the Jhin and the Tahm Kench in the mid lane. As soon as they push that wave and they can collapse onto either side. So nice to see the proactivity out of them, but got a little too close to the Alawi there.
Yeah, Alawi also well known to go ahead, get late. If you go ahead and try to start a big time team fight on her, she can pull out all the tentacles and do all the damages. Quas almost showing that one in that last fight, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the map here. Vision mostly on the top side of the map now that Baron is down, but neither team's having a stranglehold on the opposite side of the map.
And that's the thing, is that for how far ahead GCU is 4,000 gold, you think that they would have a little bit better control, but not quite the case. And this is what we were saying with Tempo Storm has done a good job from behind of keeping wards out. They have that Scuttle Crab right now. They have some blue trinkets dotted around that top side. GCU now just moving in as a 5-man, really getting control of this top side. And you see the random Rift Herald summoned as Tempo Storm wasn't really able to find a case.
Hey.
A little bit of a spectator bug, or
nah, he just wanted to touch the wall.
Just got confused.
Yeah, he's going, where
moonwalk.
There we go. Look at this. Look at the moves on the Rift Herald, everybody. He's a little bit of a Michael Jackson fan, as they're going to get the slow push on the bottom side of the map, and we've seen that a lot way back in the day in Korea. I think it was Shy was one of those players that pulled that one out, so we're going to have to watch that ticking time bomb on the bottom side. Gold Coin United's going to have to make a choice sometime. And this
like the choice they're making right now is open up with a Jhin ult in the top side jungle where you have all that vision control, but really nothing there for Gold Coin United to follow up on. So Tempo Storm in a little bit of a favorable position now. Someone's going to have to go back and deal with this Rift Herald. Looks like Solo's heading back there, but he's not the fastest wave clear champion. There you go, a turret down for Tempo Storm despite being kind of forced to use that one before it timed out.
That's right, the Rift Herald with a little bit of style, with a little bit of a moonwalk, able to walk his way all the way down to the bottom tower and get themselves a little bit closer of a gold lead. So the gold lead's still been around 3,000. It's been like that for almost 10 minutes here. And so Tempo Storm looking to get their items and find some sort of power spike.
Kind of completing, you see Selfie going a little bit for a greed build, getting that Rod of Ages after already having the Morellos, and GCU getting impatient, feeling like they're not closing the lead as fast as they want. Try to force down that Baron, but it gets scouted out with a blue trinket.
Yep, nice blue trinket coming out of Revan. And because of the attempt, the health bars are low. That's going to give Tempo Storm enough time to clear up the vision, take control of Baron, and the dance starts all over again.
It's something Tempo Storm has done well with, just knowing when they can move in and out of situations. They had that play where they grab the dragon down the bot lane,
right,
just keep that off GCU. They understand that we can't go down there and defend our turret now. They back off. They understand the trading game very well in terms of objectives.
So both teams trying to figure out what the next big objective is going to be. Baron is always on the map, but at 23 minutes, a little bit early. So Mountain Drake is the next Drake that will be up in the Dragon Pit. That might be where we start seeing a lot of the vision battles and confrontations in the Rift.
You see actually Selfie's the one up gold despite dying twice, staying even in farm. And that's what we're saying a little bit, saying with the greedy build with the Rod of Ages. Usually you see a Luden second, or if you're snowballing and very strong, a Leandries. a little surprising not to see either of those come out, and instead getting that Rod of Ages, getting a little tankier. We talk about Tempo Storm lacking a front line. Who knows, maybe Selfie will play it this time around.
Yep, Selfie came into the scene with a super hot crew and was integral to their success early on, and actually was coached by his current coach, LS, way back in the day, and I believe it was around 2014. So they were reunited, finding success here as, again, Vision Wars just starting up. Sheep trying to make a play here, tries to land the death sentence, unable to, and Fly staying cool under pressure.
Looks like GCU won't try and punish that engage on Sheep, just settling for some more vision control up in the top side. And this is one of the things that we said could be an issue for GCU. They always want those kind of odd man fights. They're not happy just necessarily forcing and turning and getting a 5v5 from ahead. They want to find a pickoff, but they've been struggling to do that this time around.
Oh, Wiggly does get stunned up by Renekton. Test of Spirit. Gonna do a little bit of damage to Solo. There's a death sentence that finally hooks out a Sheep, but not going to lead to too much there. So again, just kind of skirmishes around vision. You don't see this too much in solo queue. You're seeing a lot of it right now, though, in this match. Yeah,
but Selfie caught a little bit out of position, trying to find his way out of here. So might fight again.
Sombrero onto Fly. Fly a little low. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage from Mad Life to help out his mid laner. Qua still thinking about it. Flashes forward, not able to land any damage on the Fly. Fly again able to walk out of the cocoon. Solid stuff from him. Teleport coming in now by Solo as they start the tower defense.
The Tempo Storm getting very aggressive, wanting to finish off Fly there, but every skill shot they sent came up just a little bit short, and despite getting a really nice chunk out there when it looked a little suspect at the beginning, Selfie snuck his way into that brush, almost got collapsed on, but it didn't look like Santorin quite knew he was there, and that hairy situation ends up with no one actually going down.
Selfie keeping his, Fly keeping his cool, and those are the mechanics, man. It's not always about killing stuff. Sometimes it's the fancy feet, or I guess the fancy steering coming out of Fly's Corky. And he gets himself out of a lot of trouble there. Both teams now just fighting over vision, and we're waiting for possibly some sort of stun, some sort of hook to come out and lead to a big-time fight.
That's the hard part for Tempo Storm is you see them try and get that pick off there in the top lane. You see the flash in by Quas. Misses that one. Wiggly goes to the Flash Cocoon, misses that one. Shock Blast gets blocked out by Santorin, and kind of all in on that one pickoff, not able to actually grab it. And now you're down a lot of summoners for this next potential fight, a lot available on the side of GCU.
The Drake has spawned, though, so both teams are going to start focusing their attention to the bottom river. Selfie going to clear out this pink ward, but again, a lot of vision game going on. Neither team wants to take an empty fight, unless your name is Santorin, as he pops in forward, does knock up Quas. Quas in a little bit of trouble, but on the front line, able to do some damage, but not enough. Santorin does get himself out of the back line, as now we see Solo trying to go in, Wiggly trying to catch him out. Sheep with a nice play, not going to land anything. Here comes the curtain call. It's going to be bodied out by Wiggly, and I think this is going to be Drake heading on over to Gold Coin.
Brute force out of the river there by GCU. Quas was trying to play that frontline drain tank role that he wants, but Selfie never was able to really get involved in that fight, find an ultimate to set up that huge combination with the Alawi, and after he gets forced down low enough, has to run away, and with the Jhin ultimate coming over the top, Tempo Storm can't get back into the river while GCU finishes off that dragon. It's nice of them to be able to grab that, but the game has stalled out on their side, and still sitting at that 3,000 gold lead.
And I like that out of Santorin. He was able to go ahead and unburrow on top of everyone. And it was without vision. And I was just making the point that neither team had made a play without having vision. And Santorin bucks the trend, gets his team a Drake and a little bit further of a lead. Now, still a 3,000 gold lead. I thought it was a 4,000, still a 3,000 gold lead, and keeping his team in it.
And that's one of the benefits of playing the tankier Rek'Sai. You can go for plays like that. If you're scared, if you're a warrior, Tiamat finish into one of the Hydras, most often Titanic Hydra, you go for that build and you go in like that, you might get blown up. Not quite the case this time in Tempo Storm. Getting aggressive, trying to force down this Baron.
Yep, starting up the Baron. We don't know if it's a fake or not. Does look like a fake. Nice Shock Blast landing from Revan, and there's a hook landing by Sheep, and a little bit of trouble is Revan, though, because Solo comes around with the flank, not able to catch anything. Revan does go down. Santorin going to pick that one up. Wiggly very low. He's the next one to fall, and so far, it's going to be a cleanup for Gold Coin United. It's a 3-for-0.
Tempo Stormers had better vision control this entire game. They had vision control around that Baron pit once again, but they're too far behind. They get absolutely collapsed on by GCU. Now they're trying to get them off this Baron.
Quas is tanky and does still have his ultimate. We know how much damage the tentacles can do. Did just use it, so Leap of Faith not going to lead to a big multi-kill play, or is it? There it is. Quas able to land it on fly. So many fancy feats, not able to get away from that one. And so Quas, the savior of Tempo Storm.
Still 3 for 1, I believe, on the side of GCU. Doesn't look like Selfie's quite done yet. Wants to find Solo, not able to interrupt him, but does get Mad Life.
Mad Life, unfortunately, has no more life. Down he goes, Selfie continuing the pursuit and picking that one up.
Able to actually clean up decently well there. Ends up at 3 for 2 now on the side of GCU, and Tempo Storm gonna go in and clear out some vision. Actually gonna start the Baron, but GCU's gonna be well aware of this one. They got 4 wards in the pit.
But maybe they're just gonna try to burst it down, as here comes Revan. There is a lot of damage here. Quas is tanky enough to tank up most of the damage. She's gonna body block most of the attempts. Santorin does get hooked, does steal it! Good play by Santorin! He's all alone in the pit, but it doesn't matter. Baron heading on over to Goldcorn United.
That was such a big play out of Santorin there. They were about to lose the Baron and start giving up the gold lead back to Tempo Storm, but Sheep was not in position to flay him out of that tunnel coming over the wall. They did have a little bit of vision to see him, but just not aware that he was in any sort of position to potentially steal, and he gets over the wall clean enough, able to get the smite before going down, and kind of saves his team there.
What a smooth play there by Santorin. Just walked all the way in. As you can see him waiting, he knows it's going on. Tempo Storm has no idea it's there, shows up at the last second. Sheep does make a great death sentence hook, but through the stun, able to land the smite, and is the hero of the day. Santorin saving his team.
And going for the hook there was a bit of a mistake. Should just hold on to the flay and keep him from getting into the pit. They probably knew his flash was down, given the recent skirmishes and playing a Rek'Sai. You're going to end up flashing in or out. And so if you know that that's down, you just have to hold the flay until you see that tunnel animation start. Looks like he got a little antsy. Goes for the hook instead, and Santorin does get that smite steal.
So with the Baron buff power play, Goldcorn United starting to spread out. You talked about it earlier, Fly could theoretically split. He's doing that right now in the top side of the map, while 3 other members are pushing the mid side, and there's got to be some sort of answer here by Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm does have decent wave clear. Obviously, Orianna is one of those champions that's very hard to siege against, though the Baron buff makes it significantly easier. And Alawi is another one of those champions that around turrets becomes a lot stronger. Just being able to fish with her E, trying to pull the spirit out, and if you get it under the turret, it's very easy to focus down, then the tentacles come out, and it starts becoming a nightmare to try and siege against her. Also very good on the offensive. When someone's trying to wave clear under the turret, you can potentially grab it. So there's a lot of situations where Alawi actually works pretty well in the team game, but it does feel like she needs a specific comp around her to work, and I'm not convinced the one that Tempo Storm has put together is that one.
Neither is Goldcorn United as they continue to push down this mid lane. They're going to just savage this one down. Down it goes. 4th tower of the game for Goldcorn United, and they get closer and closer to the middle inhibitor turret. And Goldcorn starting to slowly turn the screws in this match towards their favor.
With a little bit of help from Tempo Storm, kind of gifting him over that Baron. GCU was struggling to really make any work onto these inner turrets after they grabbed the outer ring relatively quickly, and now with the Baron buff, they grabbed their first one, working now on their second.
Solo now going to do split pushing duties under the tower. Selfie wheeling in nice auto attacks, uses Shockwave to try and slow down Solo, but Fly comes around the corner and is able to pick up that turret.
Good little rotation there out of Fly from the mid lane up to the top side. Their bot lane backs out around the same time. They grab their second outer turret, or inner turret, excuse me. The bot one's been chunked down pretty low. See, he's got that little hollowed out graphic that they use now. Is Santorin getting jumped on a little bit, but he's a tanky Rek'Sai.
He is a tanky Rek'Sai. Tunnels over the wall, and he's going to get to safety. Mad Life was there as well, just in case, like supports should be, taking care of their carries. And that 3,000 gold lead has ballooned up to about a 7,000 gold lead in the matter of a couple minutes. As we are 33 minutes into the game, this is going to be the final Drake, the final baby Drake. It's going to be a Cloud Drake, as Tempo Storm have taken control of it. Goldcorn United want no part of it.
Yeah, GCU had used the last of their Baron buff to make sure they grabbed another inner turret. Off that reset, kind of opens up Cloud Drake for Tempo Storm to sneak in and grab. Not the end of the world if you're GCU. This doesn't feel like one of those games where you need a ton of move speed, not dealing with a split pusher and collapsing and all those things. It's nice to be able to match the one GCU has, but feels like it's going to be a lot more down to these team fights as a couple skirmishes in a row have revolved around that Baron.
Yeah, got to continue watching the performance of Revan here with that very awkward, I guess unique pick of Jace in the bot lane against Jhin, and Ricara's doing his job, staying in the back and dealing damage.
Yeah, Ricara 0-0-5, 4 items completed, basically a full item ahead of Revan, as well as the fact that Jin's just generally going to do more in a team fight. The Jace has a lot of poke, but he's picked in the top lane for his split push power, able to take turrets down, and from behind, Revan just kind of stuck on wave clear duty and will have a hard time getting damage down to the back line, hitting Flyer Ricara, whereas on the flip side, that super long-range Jhin ultimate will be able to snipe down whatever GCU wants to focus.
So taking a look at the map, a lot of vision for this side of Goldcorn United on Tempo Storm's own jungle. And so that's going to really suffocate Tempo Storm from trying to make any moves.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo Storm is in a little bit of a holding pattern here. Baron will be up in 2 minutes. GCU doesn't have the easiest time forcing plays unless people are caught out of position. Maybe you look at Quas right now pushed up on the top side, but he's going to recall after escorting that wave all the way up there. And so GCU is going to try and keep the waves pushed in, work on getting some vision control so when this Baron spawns in 2 minutes, they can instantly start pressuring onto it.
So let me pose a question for you real quick here, Mark. Do both teams want to fight at Baron? I mean, it seems like they're both waiting.
I don't think GCU particularly wants a fight around the Baron pit. You might be fine taking one in the river where you have the ability to kind of pull out and run away from Alawi once she drops her ultimate. If you get pinned up in the pit, that can be a disaster against an Orianna Alawi. But if you start the Baron off, they start running at you, and you have Mad Life ult Santorin on top of them, and then teleport come in, you get a flank. I think that could be a situation that works really well for GCU, as Ricara has no trouble, like we say, contributing from far away.
So we'll be on lookout for that. Tempo Storm trying to figure out a way back in this match. Goldcorn United continuing to move on Tempo Storm side of the jungle, and that Baron timer gets closer and closer to fruition. And Tempo Storm is the one that wants to find that fight, so they might find themselves in trouble in their own jungle without the right vision.
Like we said before, without a real frontliner, what's one of the difficulties is walking into contest vision. It's great when you have, let's say, a tanky Rek'Sai or a Gragas or a Zac, you put the Orianna ball on them, they just run into some brushes to face check them. Much harder. They do have some good tools with the Jace Shock Blast as well as the Elise W, able to send those into brushes in front of you so you don't necessarily need to check them yourself. That's pretty slow going if the enemy team has complete vision control in that top side.
Right, you can see the concerted effort right here by Tempo Storm trying to shove in this mid lane. All four of the members are all here, and it forces Goldcorn United to come answer. But Goldcorn United just too strong, able to shove down the lane.
Yeah, but for the most part, Tempo Storm has done a good job getting vision down in this top side. They have a ton of wards in their own jungle as well as a couple in the river so far, making GCU's life a little difficult, not really able to bait until they start getting better vision control.
As the hook going to land onto Solo, but not exactly the target you want to initiate on. He's going to be fine, able to walk out. Oh, he took a lot of damage from the Test of Spirit there.
Yeah, that starts ramping up really hard with AD, actually, to the point where you can chunk half of a life bar relatively easily. And that's kind of what happened to Solo there. You saw Mad Life try and devour him to deny that, but that debuff still keeps sticking on even with you in Tahm Kench's belly.
Yep, that might be the go button here. Ricara's going to pop the curtain call, does have vision of the rest of the pit. Teleport coming in for Solo with his low health bar. Another Test of Spirit going to land onto Quas. Very low is the Baron, and it does head on over to Wiggly. The rest of the fight begins, and down goes Santorin after the steal. Flashes over the pit, keeps Tempo Storm safe, and they're going to walk themselves out of trouble. Tempo Storm finding that little opening. However, Solo does go ahead and get the stun onto Jace. Jace is very low, and Ricara's going to pick that one up. It's a 1-for-1 so far. The blue turret does go down during this fight, and both teams trying to go back and forth. Solo does get taken down by the Test of Spirit, and Quas is moving forward. Fly trying to find a little fight. Phosphorus Bomb not going to land. Flay going to get him in a little bit of trouble. Mad Life is able to eat him up and spit him out. Sheep wants a little bit more, though. Maybe looking for a death sentence. Not going to find anything. One for two. Baron heading on over to Tempo Storm.
Really nice play out of Tempo Storm there. Two huge Tesla Spirits coming out of Quas. The first one onto Solo to chunk him low, forcing him to recall and teleport back in. The second one onto Santorin drops him down to about 1,000 health before he even gets in range for that steal. Makes him play it a little bit slower than he probably wants to. And off that, they get the Baron. They get a very close fight, almost able to win that one a little bit harder. Both sides trying to finish off the back line of each other. And here, keep your eye on Quas. This is going to be the big E that's going to kind of set his team up well. He's playing a little bit of zoning duty, lands the E, pulls the Spirit out. They focus him down, burn as much damage as he can. You see Santorin off the back of that drops down so low. He's trying to play it safe and doesn't know when he should actually go in. And then once he does, gets blown up. And then Fly and Ricaro play this one decently, but without Santorin there providing a little bit extra CC, it is hard to lock them down for a single target to hit. They do get Revan there. You see that one chain CC combo, but that's all they have for now. And then they're stuck in this kind of 3v3 as Wiggly had left them alone here, but no way to actually walk forward.
You're right, Tesla Spirit doing a ton of damage. Quas finding some sneaky damage that I don't think the tanky Santorin was expecting to come out of it.
I don't think most people are expecting to Alawi damage. How many times can you honestly say you've played against a well-coordinated team with Alawi in competitive play? It's something that not many people are experienced with, and this is why I was saying around objectives, with the right team, Alawi actually becomes very, very strong because she does provide a way to freely chunk people out, similar to like a Syndra just ulting a target out of nowhere, but it's on your E.
Quas being that pseudo tank will continue to watch his play so far as we do see a death sentence landing onto Solo. Solo popping the Gargoyle Stone Plate, so he's not going to take too much damage. Quas did use his ultimate, so he won't have that for the next team fight, but the Dragon, Elder Dragon, heading on over to Tempo Storm.
Yeah, a bit of a whip on that ultimate, but it did scare GCU from walking forward, bought the space for his team to grab that Elder Dragon. And because they had actually managed to steal away a couple of GCU's Dragons in the early game, this is not negligible takeaway here for the Elder Dragon. Actually going to be adding a fair amount of damage to this burn, and when comboed with the pushing power that comes from Baron, Tempo Storm is going to have a great opportunity to bring this gold lead back into their favor as they melt turrets down.
Yeah, we thought that we'd have some trouble finding a way into the fight, and the answer was Quas on this Alawi. Untouched is Revan, untouched is Selfie, and they're able to deal damage with just a one-man front line coming out of Quas, and now it bounces back. The question's in Gold Coin United's court. How do you work your way back in it after having a lead for so long?
I mean, it is the kind of case where I think they would have done better to potentially just brute force that engage onto Tempo Storm instead of playing that Baron game, because Tempo Storm doesn't do a good job walking into you. And what ended up happening in that fight was that both of them were just standing around the mid lane looking at each other. And that's a similar situation to a Siege situation or a Baron Force, where that's where Alawi can shine, get those kind of free ease off to chunk people out. Did that 2 times in a row, and then all of a sudden you're losing objectives. So you kind of want to brute force those fights a little bit more as GCU, but you've gotten to the point now where with the gold lead even, you can't be as lackadaisical in your engage. You actually define good ones, whereas when you have a 4,000 gold lead, you saw them go for that Quas pick off in the top side, and it didn't quite work out, but it wasn't like you lost anything for it. This time around, if you start messing up your ults on the Quas, he might mess you up.
He might mess you up indeed, as we are 41 minutes, 30 seconds into Game 1 of this battle for second place in the North American Challenger Series 2007 Summer Split. Tempo Storm and Gold Coin United both sitting at 5-2, and it seems like it's just one more fight away from this game blowing up in either team's favor, and I could say both teams have made plays to win.
Yeah, both teams have been playing pretty well overall. Tempo Storm fell behind early off some good ganks out of GCU, but they played the objective game better, they played the vision game better, and they were able to stem the bleeding until they found a couple good objective fights. Now GCU doing everything they can to force Tempo Storm off their base.
Ricaro popping the ultimate there, not going to find too much damage as Locket was popped out of Sheep, giving a lot of shields to Tempo Storm, but now you can just see the vision game is now being played on Gold Coin United's side of the map.
And overall, Tempo Storm has some pretty huge farm numbers. Quas is almost at max build. Selfie already is. Revan catching up to the Ricaro, who was further ahead. Not going to matter as much more, as you see a lot of people getting forced down low.
Revan did get caught up there. Flash forward by Santorin, not going to work. He wasn't able to get the knock up onto Revan, so Revan very lucky to get himself out of that one. But the tower does go down and the base has been cracked open.
A little bit sketchy there on the side of Tempo Storm, but they grab the objective and they get out. Lose a couple flashes for it. Actually, just Quas is going down, so not the end of the world. Santorin traded his trying to get in there and start the fight off for GCU. We talk about not great CC on the side of Tempo Storm, really not much better for GCU. They have a lot better front line, of course, and people who can walk forward, but it seems like they're having a hard time letting Fly and Ricari get involved in these team fights.
And one of those big initiators was Santorin. Did use Flash on that one, so he's not going to have that for the next initiate. And so that maybe leaves Mad Life with an ultimate in, maybe Solo trying to get a stun on Renekton as well, but that's about it. So I think both teams are going to start up this Baron dance again. Our third Baron of the game here with 45 seconds to spawn.
Quas has officially passed Renekton as a useful team fighter. There was that small phase of the game where even in 5v5s, Renekton's still able to function pretty well. Now, Quas almost getting the E out onto Jin, but they're going to keep going.
Yep, Heart Fleshing coming in, a nice two-man shockwave coming in. Quas looking so tanky, not taking any damage, and now Solo with the Test of Spirit taking him down to a quarter health. Needs to be careful from the tentacles, able to slice his way out of that one, but now there's not a lot of pressure on the map for Gold Coin United.
Yes, Tempo Storm's going to actually not run up with that one. They're going to go back into the Baron, spawning in 5 seconds. Solo has been chunked low, does have his teleport available, but Tempo Storm has really nice vision control in that topside jungle. A little scary given that Corki has his package. This could be a dangerous fight for them to force.
Santorin once again trying to find a steal. There is no shockwave on Orianna. It will be up soon, and it doesn't matter because the Baron does get taken by Santorin, or does taken by Wiggly. Solo going in, does find Quas. Quas is a little low and does go down. Santorin's able to pick up that kill. Ultimate coming out of Ricard, the curtain call, the final number. Not going to land on anyone. Selfie's going to have a dark passage into safety, but Santorin doesn't want to give up the chase. Solo there as well, able to dodge his way out of command attack. Ricard now trying, all of Gold Coin United trying to stop TS of getting into trouble. Fly now going in there, not going to find anything. The blue turret does go down, so Gold Coin United's pressure from minions is going to help out. Shockwave going to land on the Fly. He's very low, will be able to get himself out. Santorin finding 2 to knock up, but not going to find much more than that. Mad Life forced to eat out Jin. Solo very low, might get soloed by Revan. Ricard very low. There goes the AD carry for GCU. 2 kills heading on over to Selfie in the mid lane.
GCU getting a little bit greedy there. Tempo Storm forced down that Baron very fast, kind of pinned themselves up against the wall there, and GCU with a big lane in top lane. Fly almost out. Looked like he's going to be okay now. Selfie still has the speed. Chase is the Valkyrie coming up. There it is. Might be out with that one. Both teams have Cloud Drake kind of powering them away.
I don't know if that passage was close enough. Selfie wants to say, hey, come here, take one with me, and down goes Fly. And I think Tempo Storm has turned this game on its head.
Yeah, Tempo Storm definitely looking like they might be able to take this one. Quas teleports into the bot lane trying to force with that turret down, but he doesn't have a Baron buff anymore. So not able to use that.
Quas being that big front line. It took a long, long time for Gold Coin United to burn him down, and I think that helped the rest of his team find success. Santorin now trying to chase everybody around. Not going to find too much. Revan going 1v1 and is able to solo him out, and that's going to spell disaster for Gold Coin United.
GCU, despite having a large lead in the early game off the back of Santorin's play, not actually able to convert. And they're doing their last stand here, trying to protect their Nexus turrets.
Yep. Oh, Wiggly does take a lot of damage, but it does force Solo back. Ricard is up, but already used the curtain call, so doesn't have many more objects of damage to help out. Solo coming in, he's not going to find too much, and that's going to be all she wrote. Tempo Storm, after losing for most of this game, comes back and takes game 1 in this series.
And this is one of the reasons that we were talking about Tempo Storm is the favorite in this series now, is that they have much better team play, and without being able to get numbers advantages and finding those pickoffs on the side of GCU, they slowly fall to Tempo Storm who have that better macro play.
Yeah, and one of those things that surprised me is they didn't have a ton of engage on their team composition, and they were able to still be patient and find the right fights that they needed to get themselves in.
Yeah, it's one of those comps where as you watch it a little bit more, you start seeing the strengths come out. Like I said, that Alawi pick is one that not too many people are used to playing against, and if you stand in situations late game against an Alawi who has managed to build a decent chunk of AD, those spirits start hurting a lot. And so if you get that pulled on a front line, all of a sudden they've just chunked him out for free basically down the half, and that's that's basically what they relied on in the mid game and late game to start grabbing objectives.
Yep, Orianna, a big part of that as well. She scales late into the game, and Selfie was able to find that. Let's go ahead and run it back, though. Goldcorn United with the early lead here. We're going to take a replay at 4 minutes. Goldcorn United with 2 kills in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, this thing started out great for GCU. They know that this bot lane of Thresh Jace probably wants to play aggressive. You see why they want to play aggressive here, able to really abuse GCU in the 2v2, but with that aggression, Mad Life knows, I'll bait this a little bit more as Santorin paths down there early on after stealing away the blue buff. Some nice mechanical plays out of Mad Life, getting that exhaust, getting that flash out, making sure not to take too much damage, which buys enough time for Santorin and Ricard to pick up this double kill as one last attempt at a Tempo Storm to turn this one around, get something for this potential 2-death trade.
Yeah, and remember, that was after Santorin double buffed Wiggly, so Wiggly was running on 2 buffs. Here we have another play, 9 minutes into the game, 2 more kills heading on over to Goldcorn United.
Yep, Quas has been playing aggressive in the top lane as well, had chunked out the Renekton, and Santorin was sitting up in the top side of seeing where he needed to go while Mad Life roamed him from the river, forces Selfie right into Santorin, and they're able to get a collapse onto him, and that also kind of baits Wiggly to come down and try and help his mid laner out, ends up giving over another kill. And that's what we're saying. It looked great for GCU this entire time. They split up into that 1-3-1. They tried to use the Tom Kench ultimate to find some pickoffs in the side lanes. Didn't really work out for them, unfortunately, just because the person they chose was Quas, who was able to keep sneaking out of those situations. And then once it came to the Barons, they never really got great vision control to force Tempo Storm to actually walk into them.
Right, and we talked about the vision control for quite some time, and that was a lot of patience that Tempo Storm showed until they had ultimately got a big-time team fight at 46 minutes and were able to turn it around 3-for-1 by Tempo Storm.
Yeah, GCU lost the Baron. They wanted to get something out of it. They had already killed Quas. So they felt like that was the biggest member that was giving them a lot of trouble down. They had a big minion wave pushing into the top side, but they get a little too greedy trying to find those chunks. Fly gets forced down extremely low. Selfie is able to keep himself alive, a decent amount of shielding available on the side of Tempo Storm, and then it's an easy turn in this kind of a 4v5 situation given the fact that Solo was already low. A couple other members on the side of GCU got chunked down by Selfie when he hits that big ultimate, and once they get that 3-for-1, it's a bit of a scramble situation for GCU because Quas is teleporting down to the bot lane now, the rest of them are running up mid, and they never really found their footing after that fight.
So I think it was really interesting because a lot of what we know Tempo Storm to be is a team that uses their prowess as solo laners to take early leads and roam it around the map, and we're used to seeing set plays come out of Goldcorn United. However, Tempo Storm showed the patience to get the right play at the right time, which ended up leading ultimately to Baron. How does Goldcorn United try to figure out their way back in it?
It's a little bit scary because, like I was saying, I thought Tempo Storm was playing better for most of this game despite some of those early plays.
Right.
This was not a comeback that came off, oh my god, GCU made a huge mistake, that's why they lost the game. They stole away a Dragon, they stole away the Rift Herald, they were able to use that to push up, they consistently had good vision control, and so when you head into game 2 and you're looking at, well, what can GCU do better, it's the kind of improvements that you need to make over the course of a season, not in between games.
Now, with the draft, you didn't like Tempo Storm's draft too much here. You made a couple comments there about it. What would they like to change? And then also, just one more on top of that, the Jace pick, does that lead to a ban now, or was that just something you just ignore?
I would probably ignore that. That didn't give you any trouble. The big problem was kind of the Alawi, as well as your inability to find pickoffs in those side lanes when you started roaming around the map. You need to figure out a way to get better vision control. Maybe you pick a team comp that has better bursts and CC chains available, because there was a lot of mid lane bans. The Talia got banned out,
right?
The LeBlanc and the Syndra. So Fly was kind of forced pretty far down his champion pool there, most likely. So maybe you try and get something a little bit earlier on that he's more comfortable with.
All right, well, with that, we have our game 1 in the books. We're headed for a quick break, but when we return, it's game 2 between Goldcorn United and Tempo Storm. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Don't touch that browser. Bad Life with the lick. Revan trying to trade it for the kill, but it's first blood heading on over to Goldcorn United. Maybe not done yet. Ricard gets the last hit, and a nice lick coming out of Mad Life. Wiggly trying to get himself out of trouble, but a rocket's going to land, and that's going to be all she wrote. And it gets even worse for Tempo Storm because down goes Selfie, the mid laner, down as well. Shockwave is going to land, but Selfie doesn't have enough damage, not enough mana either. Flash forward, and that's going to be Mad Life and Solo doubling the mid laner. Revan does go down. Santorin going to pick that one up. Wiggly very low. He's the next one to fall. And so far, it's going to be a cleanup for Goldcorn United. It's a 3-for-0. He's going to body block most of the attempts. Santorin does get hooked. Money does steal it. Good play by Santorin.